Welcome to the EnsoReal Paradigm Shifters podcast. This show is for and about the entrepreneurs who work to improve and expand our human well-being by bringing cutting-edge technologies and ideas to life. We are Marie and Magnus Dahlgren, your hosts. In this episode, we talk to Aaron Kennedy. Aaron is a musical artist at rhythmsaint.com. He is CEO at Engage the Universe, and he founded Drumming Academy. And now, here's our conversation with Aaron Kennedy.
I appreciate your interest in me. It's very flattering.
All right, thank you.
We started to talk with you about the Memorial Day, that it's a national holiday, and I have a question actually. If you could create one holiday, what would you create, Aaron? How do you think?
You know, celebration of life. I think everybody's always looking for the bigger thing, me included, but just celebrate what it is you have. That a day to celebrate you, because you know, all the holidays are wonderful and it means we come together. So if I could create one day, I think it would be just helping people to celebrate what it is they have right now on that particular day.
Like a day of gratitude, maybe?
Absolutely, a day of gratitude. I personally do that every day, no matter what is happening. I even had controversy this morning. It's okay, because I'm grateful for everything else outside that explosion. You know, it's going to be fine. I'll get through it. Before the sun goes down, that problem will be sorted. So that's my mindset.
That's great. And I have read a little bit about you, and you mentioned that you practice positive thinking. Could you explain to us and our listeners what positive thinking means to you and how do you practice it in everyday life?
Sure. I mean, it probably starts way back with my upbringing. But to fast forward to today, what is positive thinking? For me, it's getting out of bed. The moment my feet hit the floor, I'm connected to everything I do. Everything. My day has started. I look out the window, no matter what's happening. I inhale good, exhale bad. So positive thinking is a choice. And that can be difficult, of course. But it's that one trait that will get you through the day. So positive thinking for me is now coded in my personality after all these years. So positive thinking is with me all the time. It's in my wallet. It's in my mind. It's in my handshake. It's in every email. It's in this. And it's a real thing because I am very positive, but I'm also very realistic because I've been through many very realistic things. And my real positivity got me through that rather than wishful thinking or dreaming, which is fine. So it presents itself physically in the world from my thought, if that makes sense. That's what it is for me.
That's interesting. And could you please recall maybe the time in your life when you started to think positively? It sounds for me like a decision you made. So what was the decision and the point in your life when you made it?
Yeah, that's wonderful questions. There are several things that happen. And of course, it seems to be in a cycle of every 5 to 7 years because of choices I made. But right back to my childhood, you know, the first decision to accept being a musician. I started drums at 5, and then at 7, I started martial arts. So these two things traveled along together, and I took them the whole way. I went the whole distance with it. I'm still, of course, a professional musician, and I'm still involved in martial arts, in fact, with Team USA. So I took it the whole way. But the incidents that happened, you know, things like being bullied, having a very loving home. My mom was sick when I was 13. I mean, very sick. I mean, real deal, end of life sick. And she had this unbelievable positive attitude. So that was probably the biggest click. I mean, the other things were activities. I was having fun. I was gaining confidence. But I think my mom having a great attitude, my dad having a great attitude. When I was 13, it just clicked. I just started to overcome bullying. I realized that good thinking and good self-esteem was getting me through all these things.
Yeah.
And look, my mom was really sick, and she was counseling everybody that was visiting with her.
Huh.
She had the massive positive attitude, and I was speaking to her yesterday. So
Cool.
that was a big thing. And then so I realized the power of positive thought and action. I think you have to have, for me, you have to have the positive action with the thinking. Because if you just think about it, it's an inactive thought. So if you operate it in the world, whether it's doing your homework, being on time with your job, speaking well to people, it seems to work. I realized that this machine of positive thought was bringing great things for me very early.
Oh, that's interesting. That's amazing. Thank you
Yeah,
very
it's been
much.
great.
Yes, thank you very much for sharing. And
Sure.
you told us that at the age of 5 you embraced that you're a musician. Can you
Absolutely.
explain a little bit more, share a little bit more, how did it happen, this realization?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, when you're that young, adults tell you there's no way you could remember. But I can smell the backyard of my dad's place right now. I could tell you what color T-shirt I was wearing because he found me out in the yard, 3-4 years of age, hitting things with sticks.
Huh.
But he was a musician. He was a singer, so it was around me all the time. Just like what I say to people, my clients, immerse yourself in that activity you want to be best at. Be around it. So there was musicians coming and going, and I seemed to gravitate towards the drums, the rhythm, and he would bring me to rehearsals. As I got older, I would complain to go to everything, and I would sit at the side of the stage and stare at the drummer. And today, I'm a drummer 7 days a week. So it seemed to be, I mean, I worked at it, I got lessons, but it definitely, drums called me. My dad sang, nobody else played anything, and I'm the first drummer, we think, in a history of my family. First drummer. So that's how it started with my dad.
That's interesting. So your parents were the main examples, role models in your life. That's
Absolutely. But I took on, because I had such a thirst and hunger for knowledge, I took on a lot of role models very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
From role model, they're all going to be in my book. From my babysitter, I just seemed to be very fortunate and unfortunate that I attracted good and bad people, like everybody does. But the magnetism I had for amazingly influential people still happens today. When I walk into a room, it just seems to happen. So my babysitter was very influential, and she just didn't sit there and feed me and watch the TV. She spoke to me, she read to me, she gave me life lessons. And then my martial arts coaches, amazing. I still speak with him every week, my sensei. People in music, good and bad. I guess sometimes people feel threatened by new talent. It was very obvious early that I had some sort of ability at this drum thing. And in fact, I went on to be in my dad's band and toured with him for 10 years. And so those older than me, some of them I know now, and I felt it then, felt a little bit uneasy or threatened, whereas I was naive. I thought they were all my friend. It's just me. I'm just a kid. Why would anyone not give you the right information? And now, as an expert drummer and someone with a career, I have a great memory. So I remember what everybody said to me. And so sometimes people are trying to misdirect you. So yeah, I just seem to, attract people in business and sport. My dad was enterprising, so he'd have business people around, bank managers around. I guess what I'm saying is quite a broad demographic of productive people were around, and they would come through my house, from police officers to politicians to whatever. Now, we're not political at all. It was because we were entertainers, and my dad was very sociable, and we're a very kind household. So our household was open to everybody. So instead of maybe playing computer or reading comics or whatever, I would sit at the table and try and talk to adults. I was naive on one side and I was mature on the other side. So, and that became a struggle as a teen because I was still learning who I was. But I had a lot of great positive role models that I was fortunate to meet at an early age. It was great. I'm very grateful for that.
That's great, really. And what do you like the most in drumming? What do you like the most?
Yeah, everyone asks me that. Well, I'm a trained drummer, so that means I went to a great teacher for 8 years in Ireland, and he wasn't accepting students at the time. I went to him very, very young, and my mom got on the phone to him and said, "Mr. Wadham, would you take my son? He is good." And he said, "Oh, I'm not taking anybody at the moment. I'm full." She's crying down the phone. And he took me on, and I was with him for 8 years. And in the end, I took care of him in his life, and I own some of his equipment now. So he was a jazz drummer, to answer your question. Jazz, that's what I studied. And that's a great platform, a baseline for having good ability. But I enjoy music, so I play pretty much everything. That's not to say I can play anything, but I do play everything. I have to be careful not to say I can play anything, but I'm very competent at this stage in my life, you know. So I get to play everything, and I like to play everything. Pretty much, it's great.
Can you give us an example of one of your favorite intros?
Well,
Just on the desk. Just on the desk.
Well, my kit is here. Well, I can tell you, and it's a big part of my life. The soundtrack of my life is The Police. And to fast forward, you talked about role models, positivity, and attraction. The Police and Stuart Copeland were pretty much my favorite drummers, even though there's many others I love and adore. I got to work with Stuart later in life, and actually a lot of the equipment in this room was owned by Stuart. So I got to, in 2013, I got to work with him on the Letterman show. So again, another example of thoughts are things, keep solid, keep your condition and your ability and your career intact, keep it straight, and amazing things can happen. And one day I just got an email because I also drum tech. I take care of drummers a few times a year, and I got asked to do it. And it was a dream. And that dream just kept growing and growing. I got to do the show. I got to work with Stuart. I got to prove my ability. I got to own the setup. I get to play it every day. And now I get to talk about it. So I never take that for granted. It's something really precious to me. And it's funny, these questions are amazing because we jump back and forward. But I can tell you guys that probably your listeners could tell I'm very confident, very positive, happy guy. But when we were working that show, and while amazing things have happened in my life that I'm very grateful for, doing that show was the first time I was proud. And I always share that because it's not really to try and be humble or humility. It's just to be honest, because people watch from the sideline and you're doing these things. And I say it because I think it helps people more than leading them to think that everything is perfect. I've had a great life. It's an amazing life. But that was the first time I was truly proud. And I said it to my wife in the hotel because we shot the show that day. And then that night we watched it on TV. And I said, this is truly the first time out of all my accomplishments. This is the first time I really feel proud. I now know what that feeling of pride is. And so it's great. And I enjoy sharing that story, it's awesome. But the Police drum intros, I'd love to have written and recorded Roxanne or Message in a Bottle. It's an interesting question because sometimes a speech or a song sets somebody up in their mind. And a drum intro, there isn't that many drum intros anymore because music has changed. So like Sunday Bloody Sunday by U2, I'm very proud of U2, and I've been around the situation, shall we say. I know the guys. Sunday Bloody Sunday is a very important song, and the intro's kind of cool. So it was a great question. Great question, Magnus.
Well, I ask about the intros because there are some songs where the drum line is the song.
Absolutely.
And without it, it would just be the beat.
Absolutely.
I'm speaking from complete ignorance about beats and drums and things like that. But
sure. Well, it's not ignorance. You know, because you're a fan of music, and I'm still a fan of music. I live in Nashville now, and I probably love nothing more than just going out and listening to music. I'm still that's where I started. that's where the positivity came. I mean, I try and explain to my twin daughters who were 14 what we had to go through for money and to buy cassettes and records, and they just don't get it. That experience, I miss that experience, and I still look for it. I'm always looking for a little bit of discomfort, because for me, a big part of my existence is the memory in the experience. What I just told you, it's impressive, it's an interesting story, but you know, if the experience wasn't positive overall and didn't have lasting memory, it wouldn't mean as much to me. So I'm a bit of a nightmare, because everything I own and everything I do, including this, needs to be an experience. I only do what I want to do now. I hope that doesn't come across as arrogant at all, because I don't feel I'm arrogant in any way. But for instance, I'm looking for a car at the moment, not a new one, and I like German cars, and I'm particular, but I want the experience. So I will walk away from a contract or a project or a person or even myself if the experience isn't good. So I try and pride myself to be the experience I want in others, and vice versa. So all these things are very important to me. All the bands I've played with, all the bands I've gotten to meet. It's a great feeling, actually. It's really cool.
And how it feels like to be you?
It feels great, you know. Ironically, I'm a little bit unwell at the moment, but like I call it positive pains. We're here on Memorial Day. We're here. We're, you know, sentient. We're awake. We have opportunity to share this with each other.
Yeah.
So life is really good. Drums is a great baseline. It enriched my life, but it branched off to give me all these other opportunities and memories and moments in my life. I guess it opened up just one big door to the world for me, and but I'll never let it go. You know, I still teach and play and record and all that stuff every day.
Thank you very much. Thank
you.
Now, I don't know much about drums, but I know that from photography, I enjoy photography, that sometimes, sometimes you have a kit that works for you, sometimes not. Do you feel that you have the kit that works for you now? Is it you?
Absolutely. You know, right from the start, because I'm a very visceral and cerebral type of guy, you know, what I see and how I feel it and how it sounds all comes into play. So that's a great question. I mean, there's lots of great companies make great instruments, and the same companies make drums and pianos, whatever. So I started off my career by researching as a kid what the best drum kit at that time was. And one of my favorite drummers was using Yamaha. So the first 20 years or so of my career, I used Yamaha. And when I moved to the United States, I was very fortunate to get signed by companies. So I'm now, they call it endorsed, I'm sponsored by all the leading companies. Again, something I didn't focus on a lot when I was a kid, because everything I got I was so grateful for, but you're always looking for that next aspect of your instrument to improve you. And so I remember when I got my first professional drum kit, I mean, how could I explain it? I mean, overnight my playing improved, because the instrument is balanced with you, it sounds much better, it's custom, it's high end. So everything I use now, I'm very, very lucky, is high end or custom made for me. So I'm with Tama drums now, and I guess Stuart used Tama and many of my heroes. I'm with Peisty cymbals. They're made in Switzerland, and they are so good to me. And what's interesting about Peisty is, in the Irish language, Peisty means children. Right? And so I met with Kelly Peisty in Nashville here recently. She had all the artists together, and I told her that, and she's just like, you know, I think she thinks I'm like a show. You know, I always come with something, you know, and that's what I told her at the meeting. I said, you know, Peisty means children. And, you know, we're in a conversation about new symbols for me. So just to be a musician is amazing, you know, play locally, but then to have the instrument you want and just send an email and say, I have a creative idea. Can you make me this? They send it to me. Then I use it in the project. So right now I have more than than I ever thought of, ever. And I'm very grateful. And I play all my equipment 7 days a week. So it's too much to go through, but I have many kits, and they're all made of different materials. And so I guess it's like walking into a studio and being able to pick up all the lenses you want and the lighting, and to be able to change the room the way you want from photography. If you're a writer, you got your Apple Mac. So I have everything I need to do what I need to do. So there's no excuses for, so the rest is up to me. And that's everything, right? That is everything.
Yeah.
I used to get hung up on gear, but then I balanced the technique and the ability with the gear. And I feel now my confidence is competence. They're both together. Sometimes they're a bit off, and I help clients with that. Being enthusiastic doesn't always get that result, know. So yeah, drumming is very, very important to me. Really important.
Just another quick question, then I will
Sure.
leave equipment alone. Equipment, especially with the musical instruments, is often handmade, and there's a little bit of difference, even if it's a series of identical quote unquote equipment. You get some differences. Do you have to go through that thing where you try several of the same kind to get the one you really?
Yeah. Like, these questions are amazing. You can ask me anything, and you can follow up with me anytime, and anything you need from me, just ask. All questions are good. I mean, again, that comes. I'm glad it came with the ability. It's a great question. The ability curve. I wanted the chart to do this or that way with your angle. It needed the trajectory. I wanted to go from negative to positive. So as I improved, and as my ears improved, and as the challenges that came to me, my first recordings, and working with people, and working indoors, working outdoors, these are all challenges of sound. And so, now I have the capacity to know what I need. And so, for instance, Feisty are making me a ride cymbal, and I've chosen it. It's going to be a particular weight, particular dimension. It's the same with the drums. Drums come in different woods, and I'll take it right back down to the listener. So it's not a drum podcast. To me, drumming is both writing and speaking. So it's the art of communication, and the physical art of actually playing, like holding the sticks when I teach students, is like writing. So holding the stick for me, and I still love to write. I write all over the house all day. I enjoy the art of writing. So it's like holding the pen. So the stick is very important. The guys make me my own custom sticks with the weight and the finish I want, and my name on them or whatever. But what's most important is holding it, how I hold it. So to me, drumming and actually using the stick is like holding the pen. And that's how I teach. We start it right down like that. So using the pen and speaking is the actual playing. That's my perspective of drumming. So a lot of my drum clients become mentoring clients, because we've established the trust on the kit, and they have things they want to overcome on the kit, and then they have things they want to overcome in life. So a lot of my drum students, the older guys, adults mostly, and college goers, they become mentoring clients. So that again is interesting, so I hope that answers your question about a little bit about custom stuff.
Thank you very much. And I have another question, of course.
Yeah.
Here, you mentioned experience and the importance of experience life. And would you please share with us what is your mission and how Engage the Universe relates to this, your mission?
Well, thank you. Engage the Universe came about a year ago, but I've been doing it for 20 years almost. I guess, even though I didn't know anything, in school, guys would be asking me how to get in trouble. And I caused enough trouble myself. Let's not be, I'm very controversial. So I like to be very honest with everyone that interviews me. I did great in school, but I was a nightmare. Always questioning everything. And in the 80s, you didn't question anything in Ireland. But so I'd been advising people forever. I learned karate, then I started teaching karate. I'm playing drums, and then local guys are asking me to teach them. And I hadn't really thought of that. I advised a few friends, but within a week I had 20 students. But then I had to get very level. It's great to be the best guy in the development or the village. But, I had aspirations to at least be recognized in Ireland. And then if I could achieve that, hey, who knows? Never wanted to be famous. That's also very important. Played with hundreds of bands, but I wanted to be successful. Fame has never really interested me, even though the trappings that come with that is very nice. I didn't want that. Never wanted to be on a poster. Or I'm happy to be behind the kit. So like what I mentioned earlier, when you're teaching somebody anything, you have to break them down a little bit first, in that they must admit that they're in the room or space with you and they don't know at least the minimum of what you're discussing, whether it's learning to act, dance, drive a car, drum, martial arts. You have to get the person to put their hand up and say, I don't have the fullest knowledge of this, and I'm going to trust you to lead me. There's always challenges with that. I had one this morning. Someone's hiring me, but they think they know. That's okay. They're going to need time to think about it. And as they sit there in that same space and things are not happening, they're going to realize they don't have the finishing of the engine to move forward. Mm-hmm. So, it started at school. Guys that asked me a little bit of advice, even personal advice. And I always seem to have an ability to scan what they're doing, one 16-year-old to another, and say, well, you should say this or do this or finish the essay with this. And I was just doing it. I hadn't really thought about it. Oh, I'm an advisor. But then as I got a bit older, I'm teaching karate. Now I'm teaching drums. I'm helping my dad with his business. I'm in his band. He's getting me to do maybe things that are a little bit along the road for me, make some business decisions with him, for him, and for myself. So I became this kind of, I don't know, a guy you came to. So then there was a big kind of shift. In Dublin, I was asked in my 20s to go to a recording session that was going wrong. And I was excited because I thought I was going to be the drummer on it, but I wasn't. My colleague said, just come in kind of neutral, just be you. And it was a very tenacious situation. This was a big dollar production, and the band were falling out. And my name came up and just said, if you get this guy to come in, he's kind of a good humor guy, doesn't take any nonsense, and he's able to direct people. And they were like, there was no real position for somebody like that. No, so I'll tell him to come in. So I went in, and basically when they established why I was there, I got to speak with the band and management, and over 2 days tried to get them to see sense. And it was the first time I kind of said, you're getting in your own way, because outside that door, you're a kid on the street who wanted to record for the first time, and now you're going to do it and go on tour. But there was other language used, let's be honest. But I said, you're getting in your own way. And I mean, I was a guy who was still climbing. I said, you know what? I would love this. I have a taste of this, but you've got $500,000 just for here alone. And then there was a follow-up. I had to go to a live show because the drummer actually was having an issue. And it kind of didn't click, but it started to make sense. Hey, this is a situation. This is a new vehicle of mine that I can get into. I see all these things like they're vehicles I can get in, not masks I wear, because it's always me. So I do my drum thing, my producing thing, my teching thing. I record, I promote, I do all these different things. And I just see them all as different vehicles out in the yard I can get in and go and do what I need to do. So that was, I guess, successful. And then I was asked to do more. And then I was asked to do behind the scenes in TV, behind the scenes in movies. And unfortunately, a lot of these things I had to sign confidentiality agreements. And I worked with some really big names. And it would be great to have them now on my resume because, people want to work with you when you're aligned to people like that. Even though you're not that person, you're still just Aaron Kennedy. Oh, you worked with whoever, some famous actor, which I have. So anyway, I can't discuss it or put it on my website, whatever. But there's something great in that for me because I know it took place and I know what I achieved. And we're so into selfies and self-promotion now that when you put something like that up, you will attract a few thousand people just by saying who you're. So I couldn't do that, but I went on then to teach all the celebrities who lived in Ireland, taught all their kids, you know, and I can, you know, Bono's daughter did drums. My friend from Simple Minds had his 2 boys with me. There's lots of people. My friend worked with Sting. They all sent me their kids. And then I established relationships with them, which I still have. And it's just, you know, we're drinking a glass of wine and we're talking about the music business. And I'm telling them my experience as a kid. And then I, like you, Magnus, asking them questions that I wish I knew the answer. And they're like, oh yeah, no, on that session, this is what we did. On that session, yeah, the studio caught fire. Because I'm very much somebody who wants to know what really happens. That's that's back to the real positivity thing. I really want to know what's truly happening, not what the world is packaging and given to us. And that I love to hear. No, it took us 2 weeks to record that, not 1 day. We put that in Rolling Stone. That's, you know, I like to hear what's going on behind the scenes. So that's why I loved some of the work I did on the movie sets. And it's really a privilege to see amazing things being made, to be there at the start. It's just, and then to see the final product. So I see that in people, you know. I think at any time we're always just starting.
Yeah.
Today is a new day for me. So that's why with Engage the Universe, last year I launched it, and it's all about empowering others to reveal their full potential. And I work with people who are already successful and looking to diversify. I'm looking for people who feel they've never been on the road to success. And I think success and happiness, to be truly successful, you have to be happy. And to be happy, you need to be successful, because one will fuel the other. So Engage the Universe is private and group coaching, from life, business, sport, from all the activities I'm, shall we say, I like to think, an expert in.
Yeah.
And then I have resources for areas I'm not an expert in. And it's pretty honest, it's pretty straight, and it's task orientated, and it gets people to discover themselves and reveal themselves. So I'm very proud of it. It's going a year now, and I've more clients than I have likes on the Facebook page. So I need to work on that. It wasn't a priority to have 10,000 people on the Facebook page. Actually, I didn't have a Facebook page for, I don't know, a long time, maybe a year. So that's where I'm at with it. It's great.
That's interesting, Aaron. And you mentioned also that you're involved in different kinds of activities, different kinds of experiences, again, like drumming, like coaching now, and I have read it's marketing too, and branding. Yep. My question is, how do you think, what is this one thing which unites all these activities? What are
people?
People.
It comes back to people. I mean, I love things. I like gadgets. I like technology. I love this, but there's always someone behind it. So like when I teach the drums, people want to play like John Bonham or Keith Moon or Stuart Copeland or whoever. I say, well, you got to study the man, because he was inspired by something. So in the drum lessons, we look to the man. Everything is, and I love this phrase, man-made. That's a man-made lake or whatever. Yeah, I get it. You know, maybe there was some storm and now there's a valley, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is everything we want to use as modern people. I'm a modern drummer. You know, people look at classics. At the end of the day, if I want to be present in every day, I've got to be with current technology. So it starts with people. I mean, people, product, then profit. I mean, look, I discuss money straight away with people, whether I owe it or I'm owed it. And it gets it out of the way. And I learned that from somebody many years ago. It's just get it out of the way, agree on it, and now let's work on the craft of whatever it is. Yeah. And I still think to this day, because money is like smog. It's like the glaciers eroding. It's like pollution. People don't really want to discuss it. I think it's healthy to get it up front. So I never avoid that. You know, I'm involved in so many things, and I never want anyone to think I'm chasing money. But money is an obvious inter-service with us all. Boring, It's just so boring. But I like to get people excited about it, because getting paid for potential is a really beautiful thing. And I've made a lot of money over the years. I've lost money. I've had money stolen. I've literally lost my wallet. I've been scammed maybe once or twice. I have a healthy attitude with it, and a healthy attitude with you. So the center of everything I do is people and their potential for being the best they can be, and myself. I don't take myself out of it, But when you help others, you do give a lot of yourself. It's we're working on that. I work 7 days a week right now, usually a half day on a Sunday, and it's taking its toll a little bit. So I need to take my own advice and move things around a bit. Working on a couple of books and a few things. So I need to practice what I preach, I guess, a little bit more, which I'm doing,
Thank you. And you mentioned books. What kind of books are you working on currently?
Currently, I'm working, and truthfully, I'm quite a bit behind on my own book. I turn 45 next month, so I think I'm genuinely 5 years behind. But as they say, a book writes itself. I have so much going on. It's just so awesome. So it was supposed to be my journey from the age of 7 to 40, because I made this big deal about my 40th. I felt so alive and grateful. I had lost a friend, and it just set, what did I call it? Functioning grief. So I'm still rocking around being exactly as I am with you right now. But in my private self, I was deeply grieving, and I still am. But I learned to celebrate. I'm celebrating this person, and I don't mind telling you who it was. It was actually my dear friend Ricky Lawson, and he was a drummer for lots of people: Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Phil Collins, lots of people. And we were super friends. He became a mentor of mine. Then we became like this hyper friendship.
Yeah.
And he just passed suddenly. He wasn't sick or anything. And in fact, my mascot, my logo for Drumming Academy is Ricky, and he didn't know that. And I'm glad I got to tell him a few years ago, because I've had it a long time, and he admired it. So that's the answer to the question about the book. I was supposed to release it. So that's a book about my life. I am going to complete it this year. I have publishers interested, strangely enough. And it just documents my journey from the ages around 6, 7 years of age till I was about 40. Well, I'll be 45 now, whatever. And all the different amazing moments and craziness I've witnessed, and disappointments, hurt, love, things I've learned, my interest in psychology and philosophy, my experiences and credits, things that I've done. And so there'll kind of be a sub kind of culture in the book, whereas I'll be talking about, hey, I was born in Dublin and blah, blah, blah. But then to the side of it, it'll be saying, here's a moment. And this is what I was feeling when I'm talking to this guy.
Yeah.
This is what I thought then, and this is what I've learned now, what it was. And some things are actually what they were then. But when you're 12 and somebody tells you something, when you're 45, that might mean something different. So it's just my perspective of the world, of growing up and having this, what I thought was going to be maybe an average life, because I grew up in a village in Ireland, and that's the way people speak around you. Everywhere in the world, local is local. Wherever your feet are, that's local. And people will say, well, why would you guys do this? Or what? There's always somebody saying, I'm just going to do this. Whereas I'm the guy saying, I am going to do this. And my mom and dad were very encouraging when I would want to do some, what other people think are crazy things. Just go travel Europe and on my own and knock on doors and sell myself as a drummer. I guess constantly putting myself into a state of chaos and distress. And I still do it to this day. I'm going to do it later. And what I mean by that is always looking for the challenge. And then when I get it, I don't complain about it. I'm sick because I didn't take care of myself enough the last few weeks. So I'm not going to complain. I did it. So I've got to fix it. And sometimes I offer myself for a few days or a week to a company for free. Even if I have no knowledge, I will go and work there, and then I gain knowledge, I once worked at a chewing gum factory for a few days just to learn how chewing gum was made. It's awesome, you know. So that's the challenge, and this is all going to be in the book. Just not better than anyone, not worse. Just this is my story, and hopefully it's an interesting read, and people learn success over adversity. I've been a chronic asthmatic all my life. So my wife says, and one of my courses was 7 Steps to Success, and it's breathe, you know, it's an anagram. And my wife says the only thing I don't do very well is breathe, you know. So she takes care of me. But it's true. I never smoked, never did drugs. Was always very fit. But I've had that challenge the whole way. And I once did Dublin City Marathon, and I'd had an asthma attack the week before. And when I was competing in martial arts, my last official fight was in the National Stadium in Dublin. Yeah. And I was chronically sick, and I still did it. I shouldn't have done it, but I did it because I just don't believe in ever giving up, ever. So I was sick this time last year. Yeah. Actually virus, it wasn't asthma. And I was so frustrated not being able to drive around. And that's when I created Engaged Universe, and I built the website in 5 days. I did it all in 5 days. My poor wife is just like,
again.
Every day she asked me, how was your day? Who you were talking to? And what does that mean for us? She's amazing. She's incredibly positive too, and way more withdrawn than me. She's beautiful. And she's, I guess, the calm to my storm. You know, she'll say, hold on, Kennedy. We can do that, but in time. Because I want to do everything an hour ago. So it's a crazy life I have. I love it.
I have a few questions more here. And one of them, you mentioned, or you called the book, The Story of My Journey. And would you share with us, how would you call this journey? What's the name of your journey?
You know, it changes all the time because now I'm a dad and stuff like that. And I think I'm kind of like whiskey. I think I get more potent the older I get. And I hope that's a more warm and comforting experience than toxic. But I do feel like a whiskey. I feel like at 45, I've still got the energy of me at 19. I've always been like this. And I remember being once accused of being high at a party once because I'm just a happy guy. So to describe this whole thing is almost like Engaged Universe. Sometimes I feel like I'm fortunate enough to be on the space station looking down here. Huh. And then on days like this morning when it got a little bit frustrating before speaking to you guys, which is absolutely fine because I love the challenge. I hear ding, ding. And then I click into, okay, I hope I'm intelligent enough and calm enough and experienced enough to handle this. So I really do. It's quite a weird thing. I really do embrace massive challenges. I'm not talking about paying a bill or a flat tire. I'm talking about something monumental, maybe even life-changing. Myself and my wife had a life-changing experience last year. We crushed it. We actually owned it so much that I know that her and I could establish a small business advising others about that same experience, if you understand me.
Yes.
And I would sit down with her and say, like an invention, we talk about people and product. Somebody did it.
Yeah.
There are amazing drummers who are friends of mine. They are amazing. I never try and be them. I just want to have a coffee with them and hear how they became that. I never want to be anyone else. So to describe the book, I'm still getting there. One working title for Colby Press, who was interested in me, was a police reference, was Message in a Book. But then it kind of sounds like if you read this, you know, it's my biography is not meant to be taken as a life coach thing at all. The second book is my positive affirmations that I have, and I'll probably do that in an audio book, maybe a video. But my book, Message in a Book, is just supposed to be a memoir of a young boy in Ireland's dreams and tribulations, and where, you know, a lot of my dreaming and positivity attracted these people. I mean, you can sit and try and attract whoever your favorite person is, and just sit there and focus on it all day. I think you have to be working in life, and one thing will lead to another. You know, sometimes I've been traveling in London, and a taxi driver or someone on the train will just notice something I'm wearing or speak to me, and that leads on to something else. Well, one time a jazz journalist was sitting opposite me, and I could see he was working, and it was real tight. And he's a much bigger guy than me. And I said, "Hey, please take my seat," you know. And I had a long journey on the train from London to Birmingham. And he said, "Really?" Because he was working on his Mac. He said, "Yeah." Well, I got to play for 3 days at the London Jazz Festival because we changed seats. We got talking. He said, "Thank you so much." And I helped him. I said, yeah, of course. And he said, "You know, I had a logo shirt on me." He said, "You play music, play drums?" I said, yeah. Got talking. He says, "Well, I'm an editor for a jazz supplement," and gave me his card. I gave him my card, and he called me. I was at the hotel, and he said, "Hey, there are some gigs Friday, Saturday, Sunday in London if you want to come back." Boom. No, and that's another thing. Decision making. I help. I don't want to say teach, but I help people get a facility to filter decision making. There was no hesitation. I made some moves. I got back on the train at my own cost, and I went back to London. And to this day, I still have relationships with a lot of people because I did that. I saved one gig, and so I'm the guy that would travel 10 hours for a 5-minute meeting, and I've actually done that. I've actually flown to other countries for a 5-minute meeting, and I've often done it, and there was no meeting. And and everything in my life is miles away. You guys are miles away. Everything I've ever done. I met my wife in Ireland. She's from America. You know, all my sponsors are pretty much from other countries. My drums are from Japan. And I'm in Nashville, and there's still things far away from me.
Yeah.
And I obviously want that because I attract whatever I want. You know, I really do.
I have a question. You mentioned the book of positive affirmations. Could you share with us your favorite one?
Well, the one I'm using, I wear at the moment. I mean, I've so many of them. People roll their eyes, but see it, believe it, be it is kind of my tagline with Engage. And these things just kind of come to me sometimes when I'm going through my own struggle, or when I'm trying to explain to somebody else how they should, you know, Rubik cube their mind for the rest of the day or the rest of their life. So see it, believe it, be it is the one right now that's on Engage the Universe. And it just, you know, try and see where you want to be. You have to establish belief, but I subdivide everything. So seeing it is one thing, but you must be creative and do something in order to make the next step happen. I really can't stress that enough. We can talk very positively all day and quote other fine people. That's another thing for me that's kind of important. I try not to quote other people's memes or quotes or stuff like that. I do it, but I try and give it its full credit because I think there's too much of that. And I think sometimes we don't hide behind it, but we take credit for other people's fine thinking. I try not to do that. So in that, I'm sure somebody else has said, see it, believe it, whatever. I'm sure there's so many great people that has to, but I live it. I encourage it and I embody it. So see it, believe it, be it. It becomes that. I wanted to be in the United States. I'm here. You know, I dreamed the Pisces symbols. It's happening. My name's on the stick. And it's not, I don't ever mean to be boastful. I just said I had similar, maybe less than some people, maybe more opportunities. And so I totally embraced every day, every moment. And I get excited about everything, you know, so it's about that belief. So see it, believe it, be it is the current dogma of Engage the Universe.
That's cool. That's
Thanks.
great.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys.
And you also mentioned the decision that you are making decisions pretty quickly, I would say. So my question is, how are you doing this? Are you doing this more logically? You're thinking and into your head, or you rely more on your inner feeling, on your intuition, like I like or I don't like, I feel it's right or I feel it's wrong? How this is
It's great.
happening?
Again, these are all wonderful questions. You know, you got to be very careful with your gut and your heart. I mean, I used to be a fighter, but I never truly, honestly. I mean, there's incidents outside of the ring. That's a different Aaron Kennedy. That's self-defense. That's dealing with anti-bullying. That's different. That's a different me. That's engaging my ability to protect myself, and I can do that extremely well, even in my current position. So I think you have to be careful of the heart. I've been heartbroken. I've been actually heartbroken and thought I was heartbroken. I've had, you know, and I wouldn't make light of it, because when you're 16, you're more sensitive. When you're 45, you have life experience. I'm very fortunate that I have an amazing wife and kids, and I'm grateful for that. The logic, then, you're quite right. It would be from a logic standpoint initially. The minute I get the email, the minute you send me the thing, it's respecting exactly what you've written to me,
Yeah.
and I look at it and respect that. So I give all you the power first. You've taken the time to show interest in me. I'm hyper grateful. So I'm going to live up to that first. Then I've got to bring interest in conversation or answer to questions.
Yeah.
So logic. But then when people are dissuaded and distracted and fogged by their hurt, and then their gut's gone, forget it, there's no instinct. So instinct, I'd probably use instinct and logic and remove the heart. Because I do a lot of stuff. I'm very nostalgic. I love retrospect, and I'm very sentimental, which is probably where I get my everything has to have an experience. Everything framed here is an experience. Everything. I look at it. Oh, that was 2003. And I can sit with a coffee and just look at that rather than look at the TV. So that's not logic. That's sentimentality, and that's my heart. Say, oh, I remember that. It's great and whatever. So for me, it would probably be logic and instinct. And I've tuned my instinct. I've worked on that. Absolutely. And that's good decision making in people, in conversation. And I've actually studied body language, human behavior. You know, I sign a little bit, very, very badly. You know, I think if you want to succeed in this world, you have to make a decision, not to your answer, but make a decision how much you're prepared to give. Because they talk about going to university like you're going to have an operation. I mean, I'd love to be dean of studies for somewhere, because how we're told we should live our life should be delivered different. Because in the 80s, sometimes I was told I'd never be anything, I'd never achieve anything, forget that stupid drumming thing. And I see this as positive, because that day just fueled me. That was, thanks. And you say those negative words, especially now, when some people say negative words to me, I inhale it, I take whatever nutrients is out of it, and then I send it negative back out, and I keep the best for myself. Because as my sensei would say, you haven't really thought this through, have you? Now, that's whether someone physically wants to attack you or insult you, or your bank manager wants to belittle you, or I see a lot of bullying in the workplace. I work a lot in that. As soon as you hear those words, instead of flight or fight, how about you kind of try and quantum leap to the left or the right of it, and just look at it and tune your logic and tune your instinct to say, what is it really? Because another saying I have, there's nothing big about making someone feel small. You know, and there's a lot of misconceptions about me, because I'm short. I'm 5'5", and I won a lot of contests. But back to the original point, the decision making was not to be afraid. I also knew I had a great capacity and facility. I never want. It was for a trophy. There's no trophies in my house, incidentally. I had hundreds of them. I gave them away. I never did it for that. So there's a framed thing about my martial arts, but there's no trophies. You won't see them in my house. So they weren't important to me. Taking part was what was important. And that's why I thought, I'm never going to quit. So when I was sick, I did take that last fight. Now won it, whatever, left the trophy there. So decision making is a lot as well about knowing. And that's a difficult thing. Whether you're applying for a loan, or you're trying to ask for a date, or you're trying to impress somebody else that you're super creative, that your photography is valid, or oh, thousands of drummers, you should choose me. That's difficult. And some people present themselves falsely. Yeah. Just be you. And if you're not comfortable with you, well, then speak. There's some great people out there that will help you reveal you. So I think decision making will make your life vastly improved, because most of my clients can't make that decision, or just make the easy decision, because the hardest thing's the hardest thing to do. So we just do the easy thing. We don't ask for a raise. We don't ask for the day off. You know, I'm open with all my clients to maybe change things a little bit, because they entrust in me as their guide. So I think if people can establish quality decision making, instantly their life will be vastly improved. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yes, I agree.
Go ahead.
I had a question about times of turbulences and failures. We all had in such experience in our lives, and I would like to ask you, what is your biggest failure in your life, and what have you learned from this failure?
Unbelievable question, and very important question. I think you should just put it on your page. Everyone should just ask themselves that, because people, again, poor choices in people, and poor choice in myself. I didn't engage in any illegal practices or drugs or anything like that. And I'm not judgmental about that, because, you know, the industry I'm in and life in general, and that has demutualized, that has changed. But for me, I was anti-drug. So, you know, there were times when I disrespected authority, because maybe I was a little bit bigger than my skin. But I don't believe in excuses. I was difficult. I was always difficult in school, always asking questions. But truly, the one answer is poor choices in other people, not having a better, higher standard for myself, and that seems to protect me a little bit. You know, so I don't want to do that. I don't want to paint that picture. So we'll stay with that, and I'll try and further refine that. Just being a difficult teen, I think if I had have recognized that the school I was in wasn't in fact up to my mental standard or whatever, I still should have, I wish I had been just a little bit more mature and taken even more out of it, even though I did take a lot out of it. I adore knowledge, and I used to bunk school. That was a big thing. I shouldn't have bunked so much, skipped school. I skipped school a lot. But in the book, it's going to be really interesting what I did when I skipped school, because I hate wasting time. I collect watches. I'm a timekeeper. I try to rinse every second out of every day, and I've always been like that. So if you were my friend, we were growing up, and you said you and I were going for a hike at 8 a.m., 7 a.m., I'm on your door at like 15 years of age. No 15-year-old is getting up at 7 to go hiking, but I am, because I've just always been obsessed with getting the most out of every day. And it's not a perfection, it's an imperfection. That's why I say I'm a nightmare, because the way I live, I have this standard and filter, and it's not always good. I don't want anyone listening thinking, this guy's a fruit. He thinks his way is the only way. No, it's my way. So maybe skipping school, but you know, in my book, I'm going to be writing about what I did exactly when I skipped school, because I can tell you this, I didn't waste any time. I wasn't drinking or smoking or lying in a field somewhere. I was doing stuff, you know. And sometimes I would come home and tell my parents, because they just know by my face. They'd say, where were you today? And I'd say, I didn't go to school, I'll be honest. But I'd have all my work done. Always have my work done. Always have my homework done, mostly. So I think maybe if I hadn't skipped school so much, but I just wanted to be out in the world so soon. It just, you know, I was surrounded by adults. I could already play. I was already earning money while I was in school because I'm teaching drums since I was 14 and I turned pro when I was 12. So there was this battle going on, you know, because everyone's telling you you've got a bad attitude. And now I'm glad to say in my adult life, I think I have a very focused attitude and people seem to like it and it gets things done. But it's the same attitude I had when I was 16. I just didn't know as much because you think you know more. Even though I was obsessed with knowledge and reading, my mom gave me books every occasion, every bank holiday. So I'm still quite a bookworm. I love reading. And I guess when you read so much, maybe you end up in that world, guys. You know, you end up in that. It doesn't matter what you're reading, whether it's fact or fiction, and you're in love with it. You go, this is the world I want to be in. So, yeah, you know, and then later on, as I got in business, I made some bad choices or trusted. And I had someone in a company with me once and they stole money from me. I was working hard and they just stole money. It's just a real simple thing of stealing money. And I kind of beat myself up a little bit about that. But then like this morning, I'm grateful for the knowledge because I'll treat that as a lesson rather than someone leaning on me or punishment. So I think it's about back to like the decision making and failure. Make a decision of what that is. What is it really? Did you really fail? Or are you just a victim of circumstance or whatever? But I will be honest and say I was a very intrepid, tenacious, highly energized teenager. And I just wanted to get this done. What I'm doing now is what I was thinking about. I wanted to own the drumming academy. I wanted to own the martial arts academy. I wasn't thinking about marriage at all. There's a joke about that, you know. I always said I wouldn't get married until I got a Porsche. And I still don't have a Porsche. And I'm very, very married. And I love it, you know. So that surprised everybody. That really did, you know. Even meeting my wife was a story, you know. So you can see how everything echoes itself. From the very first day, I fell in love with music and people, just love to socialize and stuff, but not always the way people wanted it. So definitely my failures was skipping school, not taking advantage of some people that were in my life. Time was an issue too, but I like to be very honest with everybody when they ask me a question, you know.
Thank you very much.
A few minutes ago, you said that if somebody brings you negativity or a negative comment, you take the best out of it and you send the negative back out.
Sure, absolutely.
What's your method or technique for sending the negative back out?
Well, there's a couple of things. I've studied a lot of Eastern philosophies. I mean, you're talking to someone that was profusely bullied. I mean, bad. And fortunately, I'm zero affected by that. Like, I mean, at all. And what I did was I created Beat Bullying, and I've always helped others who suffer humiliation and intimidation. By the time I was in my teens, I was very formidable. I could really, really handle myself. And I had an ectoskeleton confidence, but it wasn't arrogant. And I was busy keeping with my music. I was doing music every day of the week. So that kept me away from harm a lot of the time. And when I was in harm's way, I would say this. And I remember saying it to my dad one night. A guy came up to the stage and was very insolent. He had alcohol. He was really rude to my dad. So I watched, you know, protective 19-year-old, capable, protective 19-year-old. I'd already been kickboxing champion at this stage. And people have a misconception that those who are martial arts just love to put their hand on somebody else and harm them. That's not my philosophy at all. It's the last thing I will do. But I will do it if it's to help you too. I will do it. It's that simple. I will get between you guys and someone else or something else. So what I developed was taking the power away from somebody who wants to be negative. And say, now, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to rethink where you're going, because as soon as you make this decision, go back to decision making. There's the line. If you want to do this, we can do this. But make no mistake, and this is in a look. It won't be a dialogue. There's no time for dialogue. And I'm about to open an everyday carry and an everyday decision-making dojo, you know, combat dojo, to help people with awareness and situational awareness. We're about to do that. Again, I've been doing it for years, but we're going to have a box and people can walk into it. So I said to my dad, you know, you could see the guy coming. I said, now think about this. You've worked all day. You loaded up the gear. We've driven several hours. You've performed out of your skin. It's been a great show. Think about that before this guy. And I said it all to him in seconds. Think about that before this guy comes up and wants to insult you and berate you. Just because maybe, I don't know, he's jealous, or sometimes people don't know anything. They're just drunk. So my dad said, that's it. There is no thought. And sometimes we think too much of it. And I debrief people who get assaulted. Sometimes it's not personal, guys.
Yeah.
And I'll say this to the listeners. People will harm you for one reason. I'll tell you what it is. Because they think they can. As soon as they think they cannot, they have to figure out a different agenda. They have to drop a piano on you or something. But as soon as you say to someone, I don't think you can do this, you've taken the power away from them. Or you no longer have me in fear. Or I'm not afraid of you. Or actual fact, how strong or fast do you think I actually am? Or how intelligent do you think I am? And I use this in negotiations and everything. Because somebody, like you guys sitting there, somebody always thinks they have the upper hand. We all have equal playing field. It's just, what tools have you developed in your lifetime?
Yeah.
And as soon as you expose that to someone in 3 seconds, well, let me tell you, I am highly competent. I'm asking you not to do this. And another thing too, what I do in mentoring, in everything I do, guys, I'm in the commitment game, not the convincing game. I will not stand toe to toe with you, or in the studio, or on the street, or at the drive-thru, convincing you of how marvelous I am. If you choose to engage with me, you're going to get the full download of me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So my dad said, I've played all night. I'm a professional. I'm not paid to stand here and listen to your nonsense. And of course, even the drunken ear will get a bit of that. And fortunately, he walked away. Didn't always work out like that. But again, when it's terribly boring, the power of exchange. You know, it's incredibly boring, but it should be enlightening. You know, and my sensei would say, you didn't think this through, did you? And when I can't tell you, when he says that to you, when somebody is just so solid and developed in themselves, I mean, it's like watching a great speaker. It's just like they become the room. They become that moment. And you know, that's something I aspire to do, is to do a speaking tour. We're working on that at the moment, and I need to improve on that. But you see these guys and they just capture you. So if you can captivate that person's, you know, second, you can control it. So for instance, in martial arts, the moment someone puts their hand on you, well, there's the energy right there now. Just as they touch you, there's an exchange of energy. And I like to say, well, that's unfortunate, you know, but it's not something you shouldn't ask for it. Now, in terms of a dialogue in a meeting or whatever, you know, negativity, I say this, is that your contribution? That's it. That's your contribution. We both agreed to do this and speak with each other and listen to each other and answer questions. But your choice, your decision has to be obtuse. And the next thing you want to ask yourself is, it's like the political stuff that's going on. I'm not political, but it amazes me how these grown-ups speak to each other. And how is that working for you? It generally doesn't work out well. It doesn't work positive. So you came to the meeting, you tried to bully me into a decision. We both said no. I'm still going back solid, and you're going back to your world. It hasn't worked out for you. So people need to ask themselves, what's my contribution to today or the moment? And how's that working out?
Yeah.
So I embrace every day. Every day is a gift, every minute, every second, as much as I can. Being a dad and a crazy Irishman. That's how I have the exchange of negativity, the poles of magnetism and stuff. If somebody wants to do that, then there's another thing. You can wrap that all up and give it all back. I choose not to do that now because that's very detrimental to another human being. And I've only done that a few times in my life, and it's like a devastating blow, because if you psychoanalyze somebody and say, "Oh, I see," so you've chosen in this moment to approach me and insult me. Well, how about we read you? Let's give you a download of who I really believe you believe to be, and here's who you actually are.
Mm.
And I tell you, that exchange is very sobering for the other person.
Interesting.
Very sober. I choose not to do that, but I can.
Okay. Aaron, I have a question about the rhythm saint.
Mm-hmm.
Could you share a little bit about this name? What does this name mean for you? And how did you come up with this name?
That's brilliant. Okay, so Rhythm Saint would be my alter ego, I guess, in most ways. I think I'm getting closer to him all the time. Rhythm Saint I fashioned many years ago as how I present myself within drumming and music.
Okay.
And again, just like Bash, as we call him for Drumming Academy, I guess Bash was my first attempt at first success at my own brand. Because again, you know, I come from an island. I mean, the idea of having your own anything. We're very positive, hardworking people, but you know, again, local thinking is local. And I wanted to have Drumming Academy because Drumming Academy is successful on the success of its students. And like my martial arts and the trophies, I'm on the page and stuff like that, of course, but it's not about me. It's about the students. So on the other side, the yin and yang of Aaron Kennedy is Rhythm Saint. And Rhythm Saint is fashioned in a way of me when I'm working. It has wings, but he doesn't have wings because he's supernatural player. The whole wing thing is because I'm servant to the drum and I'm servant to people. Also a huge fan of Leonardo da Vinci. So I sketched the look of that. Yeah. And I like that. And I know if I had wings, I'd have them cotton doors and they'd be dirty and raggy. It wouldn't be, you know, the body of Apollo and I'm this perfect drummer. That's not it at all. I'm about to fashion him a little bit different, get him colored and animated, but he is me and I am him. And I'm trying to think, I don't talk about it too often, but yeah, I got a guy to render it for me and I'm very proud of it. And I've often been called that. I'm called that in interviews with drum stuff. And, you know, we'll eventually have some kind of product relating to them, drums maybe. But again, it's the experience, it's the spirit of everything I'm doing. Not religious, just spirited. As you know now, I'm spirited. So the wings, I just feel... Sorry, I got you back. Sorry, so I'm trying to call. So that's what that is. And I got the guy who rendered Bash for me to do that. And, you know, it's funny because even sponsors corresponding with me sometimes make reference to it. So that's what it is. It's my alter ego representing me in the drum world. So it kind of separates me. So anything I'm doing with drumming and music is Rhythm Saint. And like I say, I'm a big fan of Leonardo da Vinci. And I just thought I wanted it kind of sketched and formed like that. And then to hyper extend that idea, because that's what I do with everything, is myself and my wife have the wings tattooed on our wrists. So it's us together, you know, living our life together, in flight together, soaring, I guess you could say. And just the week of we got married, we got that done. And to backtrack a little bit, when I did my last martial arts contest, I had no tattoos. I never thought I would be a tattoo person, you know. I am now. And so I said to myself, when I finished competing officially, because we used to fight sometimes bare-chested and all that stuff, and guys that have dragons and all this kind of stuff. So I have a book. It's kind of my Bible. It's the Universal Order by Confucius. And when I was 16, a friend of mine was an apprentice plumber. And he was working on this house. And something told him to take up the floorboards, which probably is some sort of legal issue now if we think about it. But he did. He pulled up the floorboards and he found this book. And it was wrapped in a silk scarf. And he knew I was into philosophy and different things. And he was a bassist and we were jamming that night. And he said, I have a gift for you. So, okay. And I was 16, 17. This is a time in my life where I was trying too hard at everything. I wanted to just be happy and successful and confused about girls and confused about who am I going to be? Am I ever going to have money? Am I going to have my dream car? I want to live in the United States. All of these things felt so far away from me. Like the United States seemed like the moon, you know, but I also always gravitated towards it and gravitated towards the music and the movies. And this is answering your question. So it says in the book, it talks about your true central self. And I've achieved that. I feel I'm complete. I want to be in better shape and I want to have a bigger house or I want to be fit or whatever. But I do feel total true self. I feel I'm totally me. I don't suffer. I've never suffered jealousy or vindictiveness towards anyone that had more than me. Or I have friends who are doing huge tours and I help them. I just want to help everyone and help myself. So I have a tattoo on my right arm that says true self. And I got that done the day after that last contest. So it made sense then, because Nicole knows about the book. And I take it out a couple of times a year. It's very important to me. I'm not religious, but this book seemed to it says at one time, basically, you be good to me, I'll be good to you, I'll be good to you. That's what it's really, it's kind of real basic, you know. So when I saw people having religious wars, I kind of get pretty sad about it because I think we're all just under the sky. Yeah. So I got the true self, and it's very important to me, you know. And it doesn't get seen that often because didn't want it to be a.
But you feel it's there.
I feel it's there and it empowers me, and then it ended up on my sticks. Many years later, I got signed by a company, and they said, "We'd love to make you your own sticks," which was amazing. So my signature, at the end of my signature, it has true self. I'll send it to you. It's kind of interesting, whatever. So then years later, when I got married, it just seemed to make sense. We just both said it almost at the same time. And for my wife to adopt that is, you know, it's not like, hey, I'd like you to get this done. We're not like that at all. We have just the most balanced, we're water and water, you know, just balanced relationship. And I said, well, it'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? She says, yeah, let's both get them. And we both got them and whatever. And so that's the tattoo conversation. So I guess that's almost part of the brand. I mean, tattooing is a brand, I guess. You're branding somebody. So the rhythms, the Rhythm Saint has become really important part of my music persona, music image, and I'm proud of it. So the third brand then was Engage the Universe. So Rhythm Saint, all of these things echo each other. Because actually Bash, if you look very carefully, true self is on Bash's arm. And when I got to tell Ricky, I said, hey, you know, that's you. I'm so grateful I got to tell him. Because he said, hey, man, your logo is cool. I said, that's you. So he was so humble. He's like, what? I said, yeah. I said, that's a tribute to you. I did that in 99. And we became friends, which is why it's sad he's gone. But if you look carefully, the true self Chinese emblem is on Bash's arm, you know. So things become a talking point, an experience, and one thing echoes into the other. So it was natural for Rhythm Saint to come out of that. He's more, slightly more human, slightly more me. And like I say, the wings needed to look like you catch them in an elevator door. They're not pristine. Because if I had wings, my wife said I'd probably forget them. But because I'm always rushing around. So that's what Rhythm Saint is. He's very important to me, you know. So he has a page and a website, but it's me. It's my videos, my work, my thoughts. You know, I've just realized actually I'll probably need to mention them in the book. So you've just given me an idea. I hadn't thought of that. Probably need to discuss that.
Yes, you know, very interesting and it's amazing.
It's just the way I think, I guess, you know, about life and me and everything. You know, I hope it inspires other people. You know, everyone should do it. Just create your own true self and be happy with it.
Yes.
You know, I don't really want to be anyone else. Really, I used to think I wanted to be, but not for a long time. I'm very happy. You know.
I can tell that it feels great actually to be yourself.
Yeah, I'm a very happy guy until I'm not happy, and then I make myself happy. Doesn't last that long. My tempers are a lot shorter now, and I focus. You know,
Does
it's great.
I'm sorry. Does Rhythm Saint have a drum beat?
I definitely have my own style of playing. I'll send it to you. I definitely have my own little thing. You know, it's hard to have that uniquitude thing, because as a professional drummer, they're asking you. I have to do an old friend, a guy I played with in 1995, and I haven't seen him since 1995 or spoke to him. Got in touch last night, added me on Facebook, said it's great to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. Blah blah blah. And he had this tune, and I'm going to lay drums on it today. Like that, it's just amazing. So I'm going to record in this room today. It's an Irish song. And so I'm going to collaborate from one country to another, from an old friend to another. And so my point is, when you're asked to do something, you got to be that. So I can't put in my favorite beat into that. It'll have to go with the song. But I guess I have a very, you know, I kind of have a creative kind. I'm probably a technical creative drummer, I guess. I can play most styles. I try to serve the song, which is what we said about Rhythm Saint, serving to the drum. But I have avenues where I have to be strict in how I play with people, and then I have avenues where if I do a drum clinic or whatever, I can show my full potential. I guess I can stretch my wings and say, "Hey, here's something super technical." I prefer really to play, and then I play a song and then I describe when I came across that song for the first time. If it's somebody else's, I really like that. I love the story of a song. So whether it's the Police or Peter Gabriel, I can genuinely remember when I heard it first. And last week, I think I talked about "Don't Give Up," which is probably good for this. Yeah. "Don't Give Up" by Peter Gabriel. And my aunt just passed suddenly last week, and I remembered that I was staying at her place in Ireland, and I cycled down to the local shop, and it was on the radio, and nobody else was listening. And I heard the bass line and Peter Gabriel. I was like, I mean, that's how much I love music. I love the story and the narrative behind it. And I love finding out what it was really about. So I remember that was last week's song. So I like to play and then describe what I just played and why I just played it, you know. I guess that's kind of a thinking drummer, but you know, if you can keep along with a song and the people are dancing, and I learned that with my dad. He couldn't be a fancy drummer, you know. Often he would turn around and just look at me because I'm trying to play the new thing I've learned. And it was just a look. Okay, because he was the boss. And so that was a great discipline, and a great discipline in life, that whatever you're participating in, there's more likely a guide or rules. Go with that. And when you master that, then you can come along and redefine it. Get on the committee, become a black belt, become a professor, become part of it. And I don't think a lot of people participate enough in their participation. So martial arts for me, it was challenging everything I was training for. But honestly, and my sensei would say the same, I never exploited it to its fullest, because let's face it, it was a combat sport. And people make music sport. I don't. So I don't want to be faster than the other guy or whatever. I don't care if I'm seen, but I want to be heard. So that's something I say. I don't care. I'm not trying to, you know, show myself on the drums. But if you can hear me and like what I'm doing, then my job is done. Because I have lots of avenues to showcase my talent, I guess, which is great when you're sponsored, you know. So do you guys play instruments of any kind?
We have 2 guitars in the closet.
Right. Right. There's lots of guitars in closets around the world.
I know 3 chords.
Oh, hey, you only need to know 2.
A, E, B12 or B7.
Oh, okay, right. Nice open chord. You know, music's definitely. You said earlier, is something I disagree with. You know, you were talking about, hey, you know, maybe I'm talking in ignorance. You know, there cannot be a sound without an ear to hear it. You cannot have a band without an audience. We all need each other. And if you just take that model, we all need each other. And let's be realistic. There are people whose needs for other people is negative, whether they want to take their life or take their country or take their money. So we have to carve our own way to protect our thoughts and promises, to protect our knowledge, to protect our intent. So that's why from the start, I spoke about being realistically positive. You can go into the next town and try and change things and educate people in a ghetto or whatever, or a third world country, but there's a reality ever present. And I think sometimes people foolishly rush into experiences without looking at what the intent is. So I am Mr. Positive, 100%, but I like to carry the realism in my pouch with me, because I feel that religion and politics and other arenas can sometimes guide us in a blinded way in what we really want to do. But if you can establish being positive from the time you get out of bed, and that just means I'm here, things may not be great, but I'm going to do my best to make small, significant changes to improve conditions. And that's what I call the move to improve. Mm-hmm. So, of course, I have a True Self course, and I have 7 Steps to Success, and I have all these different kind of courses that I put together to help people. And really, like my drum tuition, I teach everybody different, which is intense, but also maybe slower, because I tailor the tuition to each person, because they have different mental capacity, different physical capacity, because it's a physical art form. I'm just not interested in saying everybody can cook this way, everyone can drum this way. Everyone has the potential to be a winner, but there are elements need to be put in place for you to have that success. So realism is very much with me. It's a big thing for me. So I have my brands, and they're very cool, and I'm very proud of them. But the intent behind them is even bigger, really. That's how I live my life. So that was the answer to Rhythm Saint. Was quite a long one, but he's important to me. I appreciate you guys. These questions are great.
Thank you very much. I have one more question.
Okay.
For you today. Is there something we didn't ask you about, but you would like to talk about, Aaron?
That's another awesome question. I think you kind of covered everything, guys. I mean, even the question of asking me to do this is bigger than everything. Huh. So you need to be proud of that. You guys taking time out of your life to do this is huge, and probably eventually it will meet with you just the gravity of what you're doing. Because when we take interest in each other, I mean real interest. I mean, I stopped into a music store the other day and said, "Hi, I'm me and this." And the guy was just like a wall. And I said, "Well, here's what we can do. You can look away and pretend I don't even exist." It's just extraordinary when people reach out to each other. So I really appreciate this. And what you're doing is huge. It really is, to take interest in anybody, regardless of what they do or how they think. And I think people feeling value is very important. And I feel great value in this.
Thank you for sharing such a great story. It's such valuable information with us and listeners.
I appreciate you guys. You guys are great together. You got to keep this going. I'll help you. Consider me on board. Thank you ever so much. I'm really grateful, and I'm inspired to work the rest of my day and live the rest of my day after this. I really appreciate your interest in me. It's wonderful.